You're listening in on an animated discussion about Batman the Animated Series with two experts in their fields. I'm Joshua Unruh, superhero scholar.
And I'm Caleb Masters, your friendly neighborhood film critic extraordinaire from thecinematropolis.com. And today's topic is the Season 1 episode, Forgotten. So Joshua, I was having a really great time watching this thing on TV the other day. It was about this really wealthy, well-to-do man who's just been beat down. He's in prison. They lock him in a cell, and he's like trapped in this little cell trying to figure out how he can get out and upstage the man.
Oh, so you mean you were watching Cool Hand Luke?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I was watching Season 1, Episode 8 of Batman the Animated Series, The Forgotten.
Yes, we staged that for you listeners because this is the one that I have totally called Cool Hand Bruce since the moment that I saw it. Probably because none of my classmates had actually seen Cool Hand Luke when I saw this. Well, remember, when this happened, I was like 12, 13, 14 years old.
I was watching Cool Hand. That was like one of the few movies my dad ever actually showed me was Cool Hand Luke. We sat down and watched it on the good TMC.
No, I know. Listen, I know.
Oh, man, these kids don't know what they're missing out on.
These kids have never known what they were missing out on, even when I was one of them kids.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad you got to watch that at a young age. So, Cool Hand Bruce. He's got white hair and everything, man. It's all there. He's taking his axe or whatever and chopping at the rocks. He's going old school.
As always, when we talk about style, I want to start with the title card.
Okay, jump into the title card.
But it's an easy transition then into how much this episode was influenced by Cool Hand Luke. So the title card is really simple here. And in fact, in a rare instance, it's the sound effect that I think sells the simple title card, puts it really over the top. So when I am inevitably forced to rank these, I'm going to have to decide if the music is allowed to influence this. But it is a silhouetted chain link fence with barbed wire across the top. But it is like a soulful, bluesy harmonica played over that. If you weren't sure, if you thought maybe this was just a secure facility, if you know anything about prison movies, that harmonica was letting you know, no, they're in some kind of prison.
They're in a prison. This is prison movie 101. You've got the weird time melding we're doing here. We have all the cars, but we've got gangster with the suit and the tie and the sleazy mustache, and like they're chiseling away like with their pickaxes at the rocks. Like this is 1920 stuff, but the universe is not in the 1920s.
Yeah, they created a space, in this case, an illegal gold mine with slave labor, where they could do all the prison stuff that they wanted to do, even though we don't do prisoner hard labor in that way anymore.
Even in the early 90s, this is long
no.
Yeah.
So we have to get these guys in shirt sleeves, breaking rocks with pickaxes, because that's what was done by Steve McQueen. But how can we do that? Well, you know.
It's a legal gold mine. I love brilliant storytelling. Again, we talked about this in our very first episode about how they did the world building and set this up, and it's in its own little time and own little universe that's kind of like ours in some ways, so it is grounded in that way, but in other ways, it's not. This is where you can have blimps and you can have all of your electronics and all your gadgets and your Batmobile, but also there's still prisoners working like they're in the 1920s.
And that's the thing. These are not prisoners of the state, right?
No.
They're kidnapped people.
Right.
Which brings us a few of the various themes that come up here, is that Bruce Wayne is involved in charities and the lives of people who have a difficult time.
Right.
But interestingly enough, we don't see Batman very much in this episode.
Batman, I'm glad you mentioned it. Batman is not really in this episode at all until a particular dream sequence, and then at the very end.
And in a certain way, Bruce Wayne's not even really in this, although there's a conversation that can be had there.
Right. I mean, Bruce Wayne, as we know him, is not really in this episode very much.
This is an episode that uses the tried and true adventure plot hook of amnesia.
Right.
So that while Batman is undercover as a derelict human being, he gets clocked on the head and forgets who he is.
Right.
Because I mentioned Mark Hamill's voice work of having yet another voice for the Joker in the last
Right.
episode. We get yet another voice for Batman in this episode as he's trying to do his, you guys with this low-rent tough guy accent. But then when he wakes up, not remembering who he is, he uses the Bruce Wayne voice.
He does.
I don't want to go too far down that rabbit trail, but I feel like we could do some serious thinking of who's the guy.
There's some nuanced voice acting from Kevin Conroy going on in that moment, too. I think that's really great. But no, this, again, speaks to stylistically how they're able to do so many subgenres in this superhero story, right? Because this is, again, like you say, a classic adventure hook.
The amnesia, because otherwise we would be like, why don't you just solve the problem in 10 seconds? You're Batman. So we have to do the amnesia plot. so that we can really get comfortable in the prison workyard plot. It's amazing. It's really shocking how much they did with this superhero kid show that kids were not going to get for a really long time. Weirdos like us aside, whose dads sat them down to watch Steve McQueen movies apparently.
Man, yeah. Seriously, it's another way for Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and their whole team to introduce classic stories to children in a very mature way. It's really brilliant. I would love to be in the pitching session for this episode.
Right?
Or really half the episodes of the show, but this one specifically is just so weird.
So hey, what if we do... Stick with me, guys.
Elevator pitch.
Stick with me here. What if we put Bruce Wayne in Cool Hand Luke?
But what about Batman?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a happy ending. Batman comes in and breaks up the illegal slave prison.
Now, I like that. I like that. Go ahead. Make your episode.
Make your episode. By the way, that's literally 90 seconds at the end of the episode.
And then some executive is watching the episode. He's like, this is really good. I think it's really brilliant stylistically. We can get into the Bruce Wayne character a bit here because there is
let's talk about the dream sequences.
The dreams, thank you. This is where I was watching this episode and I went from, this is pretty cool to, oh, snap. This is really getting into who Batman is and what Bruce Wayne's all about. You see the scene where he has all this money, but he still can't fix all the problems with his money. He can't give away. And as you said, he's donating to charities and all these things. He's trying to give away money. And in the sequence, he can't help everyone. He runs out of money.
It's so fantastic. This is before he remembers that he's Bruce Wayne or Batman.
Right.
And he's just dreaming of himself in front of the mission where all of these men have been kidnapped from. And a poor person comes up, and with no hesitation, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a wad of money and hands that person money. And then there's another person. And then there's another person. And then there's another and another and another until he's mobbed. But instead of it becoming a panic situation, like you could imagine someone mobbed by poor people wanting money, panic would be a legitimate response. His response is sadness.
Right.
Like just a crushing guilt that he cannot help everybody. It is a powerful look behind that Bruce Wayne curtain.
It really is, to show that he, in an ideal world, he would just give people money, but he knows that's not, his deep down, he knows that's not enough, and it makes him sad that he can't help people that way, which is where we get into Batman. And what's really interesting is, again, he's trying to remember who he is. In his dream, he's Batman, but he also looks in the mirror and sees the Joker. But this is like his subconscious. So even here, where he's thinking, maybe I am just as bad as these guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of psychological tightrope walking for two relatively short dream sequences.
Right.
We get a massive look into the Bruce Wayne psyche.
Yeah.
And it's, honestly, guys, it's one I can get behind. It is important to me that Bruce Wayne is doing as much to save Gotham or more than Batman. He exists in a space that clearly must have a Batman. The world would be worse without Batman. And when the Justice League comes in here in a few years and a few dozen episodes of ours, then you see it. The world is in peril if there's not a Batman. But the world's also in peril if there's not a Bruce Wayne.
Right. Specifically Gotham, especially.
Specifically Gotham is in peril if there's not a Bruce Wayne. That's really important to my conception of the character.
Right. No, I agree. And I will say one thing we've gotten away from, specifically in the films, even the Nolan films, which I like quite a bit. There's a Bruce Wayne persona, but we never really get what is Bruce Wayne doing for Gotham. We get the Playboy angle, which is part of it too. But we really don't get this, how he's raising all this money for these charities, and he just kind of comes across as kind of asshole, both in the Nolan films and the BVS universe that we've seen so far. And I would even go as far as to say in the Tim Burton, we never really get a good sense for what Bruce Wayne is doing. Now, I would argue that some of the other TV shows and animated series have done that much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Specifically in this one, even before we get to dream sequences, Bruce Wayne finds out about the problem of homeless people disappearing because he is chopping potatoes with the priest who runs the mission.
Right.
So not only is he clearly a donor, but he also volunteers. He doesn't deserve cookies for volunteering, but he could just send money at the same time. To me, it's less that he's there chopping potatoes and more that he's having a conversation with this priest.
Right.
And it's not the first time. You can tell.
No.
Because he takes what this priest says very seriously and starts to investigate it as Batman.
Right.
It's huge. Well, I mean, he's in disguise, but I mean, Bruce Wayne without the Batman side could not do the thing.
Well, and this is where those two lives do intersect, because he is volunteering, he's helping people, and he knows his priest, but that's also, he's keeping his ear to the ground as Batman too. He's like, oh, what's going on? You know, this is how he finds out about some
he's
of these...
capable of being both things at once.
Right.
He is not there for purely self-serving reasons so that I can get information and fight crime.
Right.
He's there because he really cares.
He cares, but he's also like, he's using that as a way to also learn, okay, what are the people on the street talking about? What's going on, so that he can help them, you know? So yeah, he hears about all these homeless people being kidnapped, and lo and behold, gets kidnapped himself.
Right. It really brings him down to their level. And what I love about that is when the first guys jump him, he handles them no problem. He never even throws a punch. He throws a couple of kicks, but mostly he's just stepping around them, tripping them, doing these just old kung fu master you can't touch me stuff.
Right.
He never stops being competent. But then he is conked on the head, and when he wakes up, it's like, I don't know. I'm just doing the best I can. There were also some really amazing Alfred moments for me, including one that shed some light on Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, well, in the relationship, too. No, Brad, go on.
I like that you see Alfred, who is the Batman's butler, doing detective work.
Right.
He's not alarmed when Bruce Wayne's bed is empty.
Right.
Because why would he be?
Well, because this probably happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
But when he figures out there's something wrong, though.
Do you remember how he figures out that there's something wrong?
Throw that at me.
The Batmobile is still in the back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the Batmobile is still there. And that's when his Alfred senses start tingling.
That's right. Oh, and something's not right.
And what shows, I think it goes a long way to show the relationship they have together. That Alfred is immediately doing his own detective work, and he's like, but he's also going into like dad mode. He's like, oh my god, I gotta find my son. I gotta find Bruce. I gotta figure out where he's at. Here's all these tools that he's given me to help do
That's
this.
Right.
You know,
yeah. The tracking device. He goes to the garage full of cars. Then he knows which one is missing, so he can go check for that tracking device. And while it's a little bit convenient for the plot, Alfred puts himself in actual
danger,
physical danger, to track the men who. I really, going back for story beats, I wish that the guys that kidnapped Bruce had seen him get out of that car. If they had only seen him get out of that car, it would all be fine. Then it would totally make sense for them to also be the guys who, well, of course we're going to steal the car too. So it's a little convenient from a story perspective.
Oh, they didn't take the car.
That they happen to be the ones who took the car are also the ones who are kidnapping these people and taking them to the gold mine. But Alfred lays on the ground underneath a moving truck so that he can put the tracking device on them, and then God help him, he flies the Batwing. He
flies the Batwing. That was I didn't remember this moment at all.
He doesn't do it well.
Oh my god, no, he doesn't. It's a great comedic beat, actually. If you're looking at their relationship, which the show so far at this point in the show, this is a very small downplay. It's that they make those moments matter. I think up to the episodes we've watched, this is far and away the most involved Alfred has been.
Yeah, definitely. We've had dry commentary before now, which shows that they are very much in each other's lives. But we had father moments here. I don't think it's for nothing to mention that this is also the debut episode for who will be Alfred throughout. Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. joins the cast, and as much as the other guy was doing a decent job, this is Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. we're talking about.
This is the one we're going to hear for the next 15 years.
And the warmth that he brings to it. And also the kind of comedic terror that he can actually be afraid of what the Batwing is doing in a funny way. But it's like, he's really worried about it.
Yeah, it's super funny.
And if you look under the hood a little bit, the computer makes jokes too. Well, I think we know who programmed the computer.
Oh, of course. Again, Batman.
It's Batman.
Batman has a sense of humor, guys.
He
makes jokes.
But the one-on-one father moment, tell me how your reaction to that. Like the Batwing lands, Bruce Wayne got away. But that punch on the shoulder thing?
Yeah, it was tough, right? It's just that's the tough. It's the tough love, right? So it hits on the tough love in these moments these two characters have together. This chemistry that he's like, man, are you kidding me? Don't get yourself lost.
It is a good job attaboy moment that somehow manages to go both ways between them.
Right.
Like Alfred is very happy that he's not going to have to fly the Batwing in and rescue him directly. But he got it this far, and Bruce knows how big of a deal that was. That's outside of Alfred's comfort zone.
Right.
And is also having escaped a place where men are legitimately terrified that they're going to die and their families will never know what happened to them.
Right.
Bruce Wayne escapes and immediately finds himself in the loving embrace of his father.
Right.
It's a huge moment.
It's a huge moment. It's
for
very
about 15 seconds of screen time.
Well, that's all. And here's the thing. It's all about making those little moments work. And we've already talked about in previous episodes with Alfred. That's really what he does. He doesn't have a lot of screen time. Man, those moments always land. They always land 120%. And I do think here you have the camaraderie and like they're both very thankful for each other. And again, like this Bruce Wayne's like, oh my God, I got my family. And Alfred's like, I found him. He's not lost.
He's
anymore.
not lost.
Yeah.
They're just so genuinely pleased to see one another.
Right. It's not a partnership. This is a relationship.
Yeah.
This is a fatherhood thing that I don't think we necessarily get a lot of in the show, but I think this moment works really, really well establishing that.
We mentioned the workmanlikeness of the Joker in the last episode where we have to set a baseline. This is a little bit of that with me for Alfred because so often you either get the dry wit that shows they're very comfortable together, or you get them coming to loggerheads over something.
Right.
And Alfred reminding Bruce exactly who he's speaking to.
Right.
Don't you forget my place in your life. You know, you listen because I am the closest thing to a father you have. Both of those things work better when we get these kind of, you know, heartfelt moments that also aren't, you know, just chock full of melodrama.
Right.
It's a very small moment.
Very small.
But I got to tell you, as a dad, I was a little choked up. I was like, you're right. You guys are great.
See, Batman doesn't hate love. Come on.
Why would he? He has a family, you guys, and they're a family of crime fighters. And that's
great.
amazing.
It is amazing. So one thing I want to swing back around on, let's talk about the villain a little bit here. And here's what I want to talk about, why I think it works better than the Sewer King and the Underdwellers.
Oh, yeah,
right?
because again, we're dealing with a one-off, very generic villain.
Very generic.
But I'd love to hear this, because you feel like this guy works better than the Sewer King.
Because he plays into the genre so much, like, very intentionally plays into the tropes. It makes it more fun for me as a viewer. I'm like, okay, the Sewer King, he feels generic, and it never feels like he's playing into any sort of trope. He just exists there to create conflict.
Mm-hmm.
This guy obviously is creating conflict, but he like plays on all of the sleaze bag. Like, he's a fat, big man with a big Tommy gun, you know. Like, I love that. I love that. It's like a nice nod to Cool Hand Luke. It's a nice nod to like mafia, like old school noir mafia films. And yeah, one off. We never see this guy again, and he doesn't really matter. Like, but it's the fact that I had more fun with him, and I'm like, oh, this is exactly what this episode needed to really capture the style they were going for.
No, I agree. Visually, he has a lot in common, actually, with the boss. Not the main guard, but the boss of Cool Hand Luke.
Right.
Except for the fact that he's like 400 pounds.
Oh, at least.
And he spends all this time lording it over his prisoners, who are eating literal slop while he has a banquet table. I think our first real introduction to what kind of person he's going to be is that he makes a point by just picking some guy out of the crowd to go to the box. He didn't do anything. He's just making a point. And the next person that tries to run better hope that it doesn't end up like it does for this guy. And he just picks a guy.
Yeah.
Cruel, disdainful, the worst possible human being.
No, absolutely. And again, very nice nod to Cool Hand Luke. I'm just going to throw this guy in the box to make a point. The other thing I want to hit on, too, is the other prisoner, I guess, who was in the box with Bruce, right?
Yes.
This guy knows who Batman is, guys. I just want to throw that out there.
Maybe. So we see at the end, he definitely knows that his co-prisoner
is Bruce Wayne. And he knows that Batman happened to show up.
He does know that Batman happened to show up.
And he knows that Bruce Wayne has cool toys. As he pulled up in the fancy car.
Oh, in the limo.
Yeah.
But when Bruce escapes from the box, it's in the box and talking about family.
Yes.
And the loss of family.
Right.
That finally jogs his memory.
Right.
He escapes from the box, but the other prisoner doesn't necessarily know he escaped from the box. Bruce kicks the door out and doesn't stop to help that guy because he knows he needs to get away and come back and really do
later.
this.
Right.
So, I mean, there's some plausible deniability there, but I also kind of think that there are a few people in Gotham who suspect that Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same
especially
person.
if we're going back to these earlier episodes where they're a lot looser with who he kind of reveals that information to, or we see him reveal that information to, or kind of tease that information, I should say. There's probably a lot of people in Gotham running around
who suspect. A lampshade gets hung on that during Grant Morrison's run after Batman comes back from fighting history.
Ooh.
Damian finds him at the Bat computer posting on message boards. And Damian's like, this is beneath you, father. And what he's doing, though, is he's there fomenting all these rumors.
like fake rumors and stuff.
And
That's hilarious.
Some of the fake rumors are true.
Right.
But because they're on these ridiculous, disreputable message boards,
Right.
now no reasonable person would believe
We
Bruce
trust
Wayne
this.
is Batman. It was
Right.
on this message board.
I mean, are you really going to hear what that blogger said on that message board?
Exactly. It's a delight. But especially because Damian starts out with, this is beneath you, father.
I love that. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's good.
That's a great moment, actually.
So I think you've got a point. There's definitely some wiggle there where these two guys, but I'll also say the next day, those two guys got jobs at Wayne Enterprises.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that great?
And not in a blackmail way, but even if they think 100% that Bruce Wayne is Batman, they're not going to say anything.
Well, no, yeah, it was not meant. I don't think it was. I never read that there was blackmail.
No,
it was
not
more,
at
it was
all,
more like,
but
hey,
I'm getting ahead of that
this
curve.
This is him going back to his dream. He wants to help people, and he's like, oh, I met these homeless people, and they need a job. That's all. And hey, I got to talk to them and know them. So all they really need is just a little helping hand, you know. So hey, here's a job, and you're going to succeed at this job and make money for your family, you know.
I mean, they're not going to walk in and get to be CFO or something.
No, but that's not what they need. Not what they want even. They
That's
just want
not really what they
want
want.
a steady paycheck.
They just want a job. And Bruce Wayne makes jobs, so no problem. And again, it brings both of those sides of him together. I got into this because I am both Bruce Wayne and Batman. I got out of it because I am both Bruce Wayne and Batman. And then I saved these people's lives in costume. And then I made their lives mean something to them again out of costume. It's huge. It's a huge episode.
Yeah, no, I agree. As these early episodes do really well, looking at the psyche of Batman, Bruce Wayne, and we see them trying to establish this. I mean, every episode we've talked about so far, there's been those moments where they're trying to help us understand who he is, and he's trying to figure out who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those moments are heavy-handed, like when you have Batman on the train saying, "I am not the law."
Yeah, I'm not the judge.
I'm not the judge and sure, yeah. But I think that's the writing team trying to figure out how they're going to do that, and I think by and large we see them hit more home runs than we do strikeouts.
Another thing for you and I that I think is interesting is when we first started, we were talking about how we'd get these really deep looks into Bruce Wayne's psyche when we had like Scarecrow episodes or something like that. I had even legitimately forgotten how much they get across in these relatively short moments.
These short moments, and what I would, if you were just to scroll down the list and reading like the synopses of these, I would say this is a throwaway episode. It's not. It's a damn great episode, but it's one of the ones that doesn't have like the iconic bad guy, the villain. So like, okay, it's probably it's nothing important. But no, this is a great episode that really does get into that character, and I think it's because of that. That's why if I was going to pitch out 30 episodes of the show, I'd probably almost certainly include Forgotten in that mix.
Oh, definitely, 100%. If I had to boil it down, boy, that's another tough question. Is if I had to do a top however many episodes, is where would the Forgotten be? Because I don't know, maybe not top 5, but I bet it'd make my top 10.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's got potential.
It's so deep.
It's really deep, and the way it captures the nuances of both sides of that coin are just really interesting. Joshua, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up our talk on Forgotten today?
No, other than just watch it. Watch it now and watch it over and over.
Yeah, watch it now and recommend it to people and say, hey, there's this really great episode you might have forgotten about.
Oh, now Caleb's got jokes.
Oh, I got the bad jokes are coming hard. Puns are coming hard. I think that's kind of what I'd say as well. Just go out and watch it and tell your friends about it. It's a really great standout episode. Now, Joshua, as we always wrap up, let's talk about some recommendations. If you were going to pick one other piece of media, whether it be film, TV, music, comic book, what would you recommend to go along with the Forgotten? And rule of thumb is we can't say Cool Hand Luke. We've already spent the whole episode talking about Cool Hand Luke. I think they get it.
Listen, I was seriously just going to say Cool Hand Luke. I don't know that I...
Okay.
I mean, in one way, it's a total cop-out, right? But in the other way, the reason I would say Cool Hand Luke and not feel like it was a cheat is because Luke goes to jail for doing something stupid, and he is convicted. So he is actually legitimately in jail.
Right.
So it's very similar, and there's a lot of callbacks back and forth, but the thematic discussion would be completely different.
Okay. Sure.
And not to mention that the reason that he tries to escape is not to come back and save other prisoners. It's much less altruistic, but at the same time, it's much more personal.
Right.
So honestly, I mean, I was going to say Cool Hand Luke and not feel like it was a cheat.
Okay.
But go ahead and tell me yours.
Oh, I'm just going to say, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
That's
because
a fair cop.
It's not... It's a totally different story. It's more of that's a stylistic thing, and really, it's only vaguely similarly styled. It's going back to that 1920s prisoner film.
Yeah, on the Chain Gang.
On the Chain Gang, exactly. And this is super fun. Again, obviously, Batman is not an actual prisoner by the law,
right? But all the visual language
is very similar.
Chain Gang,
very similar. And it's A Brother, Where Art Thou is one of if you're not well versed in film, is a Coen Brothers film you've probably heard of. It's been around for a while. It's a musical. That is actually the Odyssey as told in the 1920s culture, as told by the Coen brothers. By
it's
the
totally worth it.
It's so much fun.
If you haven't seen it, do that thing. Do Cool Hand Luke, and then do Oh Brother, Where Art Thou.
It's a great double feature.
Because it'll be thematically linked, but you will end on a much happier note.
Oh, yes. Definitely watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou as the second part of that double feature.
Well, I think this has been a great animated discussion about On Leather Wings. Caleb, where can people go to continue the conversation with you?
Well, you can always find me on Twitter talking about film, television, and all manner of other sorts of pop culture goodness at C Masters Talk. On Twitter, again, that's at letter C Masters Talk. I'm also the editor-in-chief at a film website that specializes in in-depth critique and analysis of film, thecinematropolis.com. And we publish essays on all types of films, good comic book movies, all that good stuff, including some thoughts from my co-host Joshua here. And you can find all of those at thecinematropolis.com. Joshua, what about you?
I'm also most active on Twitter, where you can find me easily enough, at Joshua Unruh. I'm happy to field any superhero questions you might have, and who knows, it might even become a podcast unto itself. I'll also keep you in the loop on any fiction, articles, podcasts, or diatribes I cast out into the world, including my work at the Cinematropolis and for Pulp Diction Productions and Press.
Join us next time for Two-Face, where we take a look at the iconic and famous two-part episode of Two-Face, and I'll give you a hint, it's going to be double the trouble for that one. And that's going to be episodes 10 and 11 of Batman the Animated Series first season.
Until next time, we'll see you back here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Animated Discussion is a Pulp Diction Productions program and is 100% supported by listeners like you. To find out how you can keep this and our other shows in production, check out patreon.com/pulpdictionproductions. And if you can't support us financially, please leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It's the best way to help others discover the show. Keep up with Pulp Diction news by following at Joshua Unruh on Twitter, or find us at facebook.com/pulpdictionproductions.